So they say everything is bigger in Texas, and there's a lot of Texas pride. Would you agree with that?
Right. Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's its own country, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And growing up there, I think I just didn't know anything else, so that was normal.
Yeah.
I thought everybody was like that. There's a lot of pride, especially where I was in Texas A&M, and M, and the whole community and the traditions. It is something unique. There's a really crazy story I can tell you. Let's see if I can get it out. Sean had given me a gift certificate for a massage just there near our house. There was a little place. He had given it to me, I think, for Christmas, and I hadn't used it yet. And I almost wasn't going to, and somebody around me convinced me, hey, go do this, here in the midst of everything. And I just thought, oh, fine. But I did. I wanted to use this gift he gave me. So I remember one day walking down to this little place for a massage, and it was just a strange thing to be walking, like you're walking wounded, But I was there in this place, and I remember I was sitting in this, calm, peaceful room, and there's music playing, and I was thinking about the fact that I'm about to leave, and I don't know where he is. He's out there. And the music, that Zen spa music, it suddenly had whale song in it. And winter in Hawaii is when the whales are out in the ocean. And somebody, I think it was my sweet mother-in-law, had Graham's. She had given me the verse in Zephaniah, I will rejoice over you. I'm singing over you. I can't think of the words in this moment. And I've heard these whale songs, and I thought, God knows where he is. And he's singing over him. And somehow in that moment, it was, it was like I knew it's okay. It's okay. It's awful. It's not fair. But it's okay. You're doing the right thing and leaving. God knows. And several months later, I think it was the following year, a friend of ours who lived on the North Shore and was an avid diver and marine photographer, he was out, he was always out watching the whales. And there was this particular whale that was hovering over the crash site, nose down towards the bottom of the ocean, singing his whale song. And it was an unusual thing for a whale even to do in that position. And he took a picture of it, and he called it the angel whale. It had, just the way it looked. And he sent me this picture, and he had called it the angel whale, and he didn't know, my story. And I could not believe. But it was just like one more confirmation, God knows. He knows. And here's this whale singing over the crash site. Like there's so much more to God's creation than we have any idea. But anyways, that's a little extra story for you. Sean had a different name when I met him. His name wasn't Campbell.
Really?
Yeah. So, that's why names are a big deal in our house. But he had a different name, and he actually had two names. He had a name he went by, that everyone called him by. And then he had another name on his birth certificate and his driver's license, because he had grown up really without a dad, without a father figure in his life. His dad was not in his life, and so his name had been kind of blended into step names, and it was confusing. It was confusing for him, and then when we started talking about marriage, he started thinking, what do I do about our name? And it was hard there for a couple days. We were just like, what do we do? But he introduced me to this family that had become really his family at college. This Don Campbell had become his mentor through church, and he just really looked up to him. And long story short, we went to Don, who was like Sean's dad. He had become like his dad. And Sean asked him, he said, I'd like to change my name, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to change it to Campbell.
Really?
And of course, there were tears all around, and Don and his wife Mary, they were overjoyed. Don was going to be the one to marry us,
Wow.
And so Sean actually went to court and changed his name that spring, just before going to OCS. Just
And had it legally changed to Campbell.
he had it legally changed, and you know, his thinking. This again, that's who Sean was. He just very intentionally wanted to start his family with a name he was proud of, you
Mm-hmm.
know, with a family legacy he wanted to pass on. And so he became a Campbell, and then I became a Campbell, and the
The rest is history,
rest
huh?
is history. There was a day, you know, it happened so fast, and all of a sudden I went from looking at this guy who was a friend to, you know, what's going on? And I remember I actually prayed, you know, Lord, what is going on? Tell me if this is right, wrong. Um, and I wrote down just this one scripture in my journal from Psalms that day, and you know, then kind of put it aside. I got up to go to work at the coffee shop the next morning at 5 in the morning, and there was a note on my car. And he had put a picture of his favorite mountain that he had climbed in Colorado, Holy Cross, and so it's this neat picture, and a verse that he liked. And that's all he had written was just a little verse on this card and this picture, and it was the same verse. And you know, you look at that and just kind of go, what? Like,
That's
and I told him, I said, I wrote that verse down yesterday, and it was actually because I was thinking. And the verse says, "Show me the way I should go. Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love." And that morning, he gave me some kind of answer, but so you know, we ended up inscribing that scripture on our wedding rings.
oh, that's cool. Did the military or the government help you at all?
The military definitely was so supportive, and I know that's not everyone's story, but we felt very well cared for and protected, and maybe because of the just the public, you know,
Mm-hmm.
nature of what happened, and because there were so many families involved, we had a lot of support. You know, they helped us get to Kansas, um, and then it was, you know, actually our next step came from a military charity that offers scholarships for K through 12 school. And so, having been a homeschooling family, that was another big question. How do
Mm-hmm.
I homeschool? I don't, and I realized I can't. I don't know how to do this anymore, and I don't have a home. I
Mm-hmm.
was a Marine's wife without a Marine and a homeschooling mom without a home. So I was feeling really lost. And then one day I had a call. Um, there was a local school in Kansas City that really lined up with how we had been homeschooling. It was a little Christian classical private school that they invited us just to come visit and check it out and see if it felt like a safe place, you know, and they wanted my kids to come tuition free, and they wouldn't give them report cards. They just wanted them to be safe. And so I knew this was perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but private school is expensive. And so if my kids love it and I want to keep them there, what do I do next year?
Yeah.
I couldn't take them to a place I was going to have to move them from and break their hearts all over again. But that's when Folds of Honor came along and gave us scholarships to put them in school. And so that really was my first step. And it was at that point that I knew I'd stay in Kansas City. Sean and I got married at Texas A&M in college, and that was our first home together. So I think I just knew that's where he should be buried. Um, I remember going with family, and my brother, I think, was there, and my parents, to actually choose a grave, and thinking, what? That's just not where you expect to be. But we did bury Sean at the Aggie Field of Honor, which felt very special, right in the flight line of the airport. But I just knew that was the right place. That was our first home. Mike and I actually met online, which again, you never expect to say those words, you know. But it's 20. This is 2020. This is how people do it, right? And so our first date was kind of a blind date, and we met and hit it off and had a great time talking, and then left. And I texted him that night and said, I just realized I don't actually know your name. I think I texted him on the way home. I don't think I actually know your last name. And he texted back, "It's good now." And I just remember kind of going, really? Really, God? Like, I had never heard that name before. And good now? I mean, I didn't really even know what to do with that. But you can't deny, good now. And so it's pretty fun for me now to talk to people and tell my story and say, only God could write this story. My name is Good Now. Um, yeah.